Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Dr. Stephen Sorr, and today what we're going to do is have a beautiful yoga class that's nice and slow, that's very safe for you, and very effective. As we practice this today, I want you to focus on three simple rules as we get started. First one is breathe, and we're going to talk a lot about breath, but the importance of breath is that it allows you to stay centered and grounded. It helps with your mind dealing with your body in all of these various postures. Rule number two is that you feel good. This practice should not hurt you or harm you in any way. It's there for you to be a proactive measure towards your health. You should feel really good doing it, like a muscle burn, a little bit of a tremble and shake, but no pain, nothing sharp or shooting, nothing stabbing. If something is very, very strong for you, you've gone too far. So that brings me into a nice principle I like to call the stoplight game. Okay. It's about comfort zone and it's about risk. So the green zone, you're fine, but probably nothing's happening in the green zone. You're comfortable. We do need to warm you up kind of into that yield zone. So that's that yellow orange where we're getting warm, we're doing some action with the body and creating some activity, but you haven't hurt yourself. That's the red zone. And you want to stay away from the red zone, especially for beginners or people that have just been practicing for, I don't know, a couple of years. You don't want to take too many risks. You just want to stay in that nice yellow orange zone. All right. And my third rule is please just have fun. If you can't laugh at yourself, feel silly and goofy when you fall over, or you're doing some of these postures that are just super strange to you in the beginning, then I don't think you're doing yoga right. I think you need to have some levity and have some humility in your own body and in your mind. So, with all that being said, if you agree to follow the next three simple rules, then you're going to have a really great yoga class. All right. So, what we're going to do is make sure that your mat is in a comfortable place that you can practice. There's enough room around you to get to where you need to be. If you need a prop, a blanket, a towel, maybe a little bit of water by your side if you do get too thirsty. You don't really need to hydrate during it, but it does help to calm the mind down as we take a couple of breaks in between. That might make that helpful for you. So you can go ahead and pause this video if you need to, get all the things that you need. And when you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. All right. So what we're going to do first is start off laying on our backs. All right. So just laying on your back, we call this just a simple getting ready for a bridge pose. So you can have your knees bent. So with the knees bent, the feet are nice and about parallel with the hips with each other. And you're going to just press a little bit up into the hips. So to create a light bridge, don't go as high as you can go. And just walk the shoulder blades onto the back and then settle everything back down. The spine comes down. Feel your low back here on the floor. And you could just close your eyes. Now with this, find your breath. Take a nice slow inhale and then take a nice exhale. If you have a block by your side and you want to place your hips just up on that block for a little bit, it feels really good just to kind of lift the hips up, tilt the pelvis, and get a little relief there. It should feel very, very nice and comfortable. This is not a difficult pose. So as we breathe here, we're listening into our body. We're feeling, how does our body feel right now? How does it feel today on the floor? The shoulders, the hips, the back of the head, the feet. Notice if you have anything going on in your body. If you feel great, that's amazing. But if today you're hurting in some way, just make note of that and don't worry about making it go away. Just worry about doing what you can do. So if we focus on the opportunity and what we can do versus what we can't, it really does change our mind. Our brains, our nervous systems are very, very keyed and tied into our thoughts. So if we can monitor our thoughts here, we can do that in any of our challenging poses. So if you're on your block right now, we're going to go ahead and move off of that and come down onto the flat floor. And then we're just going to draw the knees up into our chest. Give yourself a big hug. You can hug your nose up to your knees up to your nose. It's a beautiful hug, right? It's an embrace. It says, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back into my body. You can just make some little circles, little massages here in your low back. If you want to think about having two little pencils on the tops of your knees here, you could just make some circles in the sky. The closer you are towards your center, the lighter it goes. If you start going really wide, it gets very much out into the hips for as far as massage goes, but ask you to use your core just a whole lot more. So find that level of circles that work really well for you. And when you're all through, we're going to come back to center and interlace our fingertips together around our right shin. So we're going to bring ourselves into a little bit of a lunge here. So that left leg is going to come forward down onto the ground. I want you to press the back of that left leg down into the floor. Just draw the shoulder blades onto the back. This is really more about your breathing versus how much you are doing. Don't worry about how far you can draw that knee up to your chest. It's just up there. You don't need to use your biceps for all their might. You want to think about power. And that power is to restrain and to control. And if we focus on our breath and we power into this left leg, stand strong on that left leg, you could do anything. This is your mind working and controlling with your body. Left hand's going to come to your left hip here, just to keep your left hip down here on the floor. So use that kinesthetic sense. Use your fingertips to make sure your left hip doesn't move. With your next breath in, we're going to take this right leg and we're going to open it up, just kind of prying it open out to the right. Now, your elbow will likely make a kickstand and just hold that right leg up here. And you're breathing and you're feeling this nice stretch along the right inner thigh. Press your right heel, the inside of your heel, up towards the sky. This externally rotates that hip joint. Focus on it. Breathe into it. This should not be hard. Press your left hip down into the ground. Do not let yourself roll away. Good. We'll take one more breath in and one more breath out. Good. Our next pose, we're going to bring that right leg up and over. We're going to roll onto our left side. You can adjust how high you want this right knee up into your chest. I'm just going to take my left hand and hold on to that outside edge of my right thigh. So we're getting ready for a twist here. You don't have to have this left leg now nice and straight. You can just have that relaxed. So our hips are stacked and our shoulders right now are stacked. We're going to twist open the shoulder. So we're going to take that right shoulder blade down to the ground. You can look over to the right side of the room. You can have your elbow like a cactus, just bent at a 90-degree angle. If you're okay with going further, you can straighten that arm down. That will just make it a little bit more challenging. To take it another step further, you could take this right hand and hold onto your left foot. So you're going to bend that left knee. So we're all twisted up here and breathe. So if you can't grab hold of that foot, no worries. This is just a little bit more advanced. But listen to your body and do what works best for you. Now notice how hard it is to twist to bring this right shoulder blade down to the ground. So just pay attention to how that challenge is here. Everything else should feel very, very comfortable. A nice little twist, a nice stretch along the right side body, maybe into that left thigh if you have that hold on the foot. We'll take one more breath in and one more breath out. That's our cue. We're gently releasing this. Come back onto your backs. Good. So we're going to switch sides. So bring that left knee up into your chest now. Right leg is coming down to the ground and make the right leg strong. So as we're just getting started, you can make some little wiggle your toes, make some circles with your ankles, just warming everything up, getting all of the little ants out of your pants, right? Shoulder blades press down into the floor, the back of the head lengthens, and we're breathing here. You do not want to arch your back here. Think about pressing the low back down into the ground or navel to the spine. The right leg is rotating inwards towards midline. Think about hugging your knees together here. As you breathe, keep your toes active, keep your mind nice and smooth, and focused on your breath. So listen to the sound of my voice. And as our practice becomes a little bit more challenging, you won't need your eyes to see what I'm doing as much as just listen to the sound of my voice. As you practice this over and over again, it just gets easier. Right hand's going to come to your right hip. Left hand's going to open up out to the left side of the room. That elbow will act as a kickstand for you. And then don't forget to press your left heel up towards the sky. So you're externally rotating up at the hip joint, and that's allowing the inner left thigh to open. Right leg stays nice and strong here. Take one more big breath in and one more big breath out. Good. On your next breath in, we're going to roll over onto the right side. So your right shoulder and right hip are down. Your left shoulder and left hip are stacked. Grab hold with your right hand on that left thigh, and then that left arm can reach all the way out to the left. You can have your palm down, you can have the elbow bent like a cactus, or you can grab hold of that right foot and stretch and press that left shoulder down into the ground. The more you focus on your breath, the more the body yields and works into the posture that you're looking for. We'll take one more breath in and one more breath out. Good. Gently releasing this. We'll come onto the backs one last time. Draw the knees up into the chest. And now we're going to hook those hands behind your knees and just have a little fun rocking and rolling. So we're coming up and down, just to massage out the spine. It doesn't have to look fancy, just should feel good, right? So come all the way up into a comfortable seated position. You want to move that meat out from your seat, we like to say. Fingertips pressing down into the floor. Sit nice and tall. Press the knees and the ankles down into the ground and notice how your spine elevates. As you lift up, you want to decompress, open up, feel nice and tall, reaching up and out through the crown of the head. Good. Let's add a little bit more weight or make it a little bit more challenging and bring the palms facing one another just up off the floor, like parallel with the floor. Look at the insides of the elbows. Make the insides of the elbows face upwards. So the palms face each other, the pinky fingers are tucking in. This helps to relax the shoulder away from the ear and keep the shoulder blade on the back. So you can hug your shoulder blades together as if you're squeezing a pencil between your shoulder blades along the spine. Good. If you want to lift them up a little bit higher, maybe where the wall meets the ceiling, this just adds a little bit more weight into the equation. If you go up too high, you lose your posture. So listen to your body, move with your breath. We're going to take this right hand down to the floor, and the left arm's going to reach up and over, just straight over to the side. Straight over. Fingertips are reaching to where the wall meets the ceiling. So you're opening up through the ribs, through the side body, the obliques. Press your left knee, press your left hip down into the ground, and lift up and out from there. This should feel very freeing and opening. One more breath in up here. On your exhale, we're going to forward fold now with this left hand. It'll touch the right corner of the mat up front. And begin to move your belly over just a little bit towards the right. You can look down at that right knee and keep working on pulling, using your fingertips to pull your body forward. We're not pushing back, we're reaching and extending forward. That left knee and hip are still pressing down into the ground. We'll take one more breath in up there. Feel the length that you're opening through your left side. So even though your eyes are open, they're kind of closed because you're looking inwards. You can feel that. This is an intuitive practice. You don't need a mirror. You just need to focus on the way that you feel. New breath in, come all the way back up to seated, and just sit for a moment. Look at the change that you created on that left side body. It should feel pretty good, right? We'll do the other side. Left hand's going to come down to the ground. Right arm is going to reach nice and high. Keep that shoulder down. And then walk the right arm to where the wall meets the ceiling. You can look up at the palm if that feels good for you. And just continue reaching up. Press down into the ground through that right knee and hip. And lift up and out through that side body. The waistline is getting long. A lot of space. Find your breath. Good. We'll take one more inhale up here. And on your exhale, we're going to forward fold now. Remember to get those fingertips onto the floor up there and start pulling forward. You're trying to draw the upper body forward instead of pressing backwards. You can look down at this left knee and move the belly button just a little bit over towards the left side of the room. So kind of like a socket wrench. You're just ratcheting over a little bit more with every successive breath. That's beautiful. We'll take one more breath in. And one more breath out. On your new inhale, gently coming out. Wasn't that easy? That's the point. Yoga should be simple It should be steady and comfortable for you. This was the easy part of the class. So what we're going to do next is move into a tabletop pose. And I'm going to walk myself towards the back of the mat. So my fingertips are on the floor here. My toes are on the floor. And I have my shoulders over the wrists and hips over the knees. Notice that I'm towards the back of the mat. There's plenty of room out in front of me. So my hands are at about the midway point of the mat. I make sure that I have a nice space between my hands and my feet too. So I really have a lot of stability here and just kind of move around, intuitively sense where your balance points are. You can feel all of the joints in the hand. You want to find your center. As we do a lot of these yoga practices and we're in these postures on our hands, we're not used to this in daily life because if we're sitting or on a computer or doing any activity, we're not really pressing into our hands like this. So just getting used to it, it's great therapy or a counter posture for life and your daily activities. So cat and cow, this is a very simple breathing pattern. With the inhale, we're going to look up to the sky. And with the exhale, we're going to look down to the ground. And as you keep breathing up and down, you start to recruit a little bit more muscle and move your joints a little bit more as you go through this. It should feel good, and you only go until you reach that edge. When that yellow turns to orange, that's the signal to not go very far. If that orange turns to red, it's a little too much and too soon. You will not have a sustainable practice if you go too far. Gently releasing this back into neutral. Now what we're going to do is walk those hands all the way forward to that space ahead of you. Just so it's straight. They don't have to touch the very top of the mat, just forward. Pointer finger, point straight ahead, and press down into the pointer finger and into the thumb and into the pinky finger. You want to suction cup your hands down onto the floor. Those four corners of your palm are really pressing down. Think about hugging your elbows in towards one another to straighten the arms and start pushing your body back. So your arms are straight, like you're pressing into a wall. You can move the wall. You can do this on the wall as well. It's a nice alternative if you can't get down to the floor. You could do a posture very similar to this by pressing your feet into the floor and your hands into the wall. So stretch your mat here. Think about pressing your fingertips forward and your toes and knees backwards to try to traction yourself here on the mat. You can create a nice length and extension here. The head can even bow down so the ears are in line with your biceps, and you breathe. That's all you have to do is breathe. If it ever becomes too hard to breathe and you're grinding your teeth or clenching in some way, you've gone too far. So just back off of the pose. And it might just be a millimeter, maybe it's an inch, maybe you need to wiggle around or adjust. But the more that you practice, the better you get. So we say practice makes better, right? If you're brand new, you might have said perfect. We don't like that word. There's always room for improvement. You could always do better, but for today, just do what you can do. On your new breath in, we're going to bring those hands back about one hand length. So you're a little bit shorter on the mat, okay? And then shift that upper body forward. So now your shoulders are over the wrist, just like they were in the tabletop, but reach the head forward in front of those hands. Just move a little bit from left to right. See the center knuckles, the big knuckles of your fingertips pressing down into the ground. This is the top of a push-up. So if you were to lift your knees off of the floor, you don't need to adjust your hands and feet. This is the top of the push-up. So the belly is lifting up, the hips are high, in line with the spine and the backs of your legs. Beautiful. Come back down onto the knees, relax the tops of the feet, and what I want you to do is start to pull yourself forward. Try to send your heart forward. So this is a nice, soft, upward facing puppy pose because we're on our knees, right? We're not in the full dog poses yet. And then just gently release this. We're going to take our toes together and move our knees apart. So you've got a lot of space for your torso to just soften down. This is child's pose. And just take a little moment for you to breathe. When you're through, we're going to return up into downward facing dog now. So lift your knees off the floor, Hands are pressing forward, feet are pressing back. So all you have to do here is breathe. I like to keep the knees having a nice soft bend into them, right? So you're kind of in a squat. You really want to think about just starting to release the tension on the backs of your legs. So pressing one heel down into the ground and try to soften through the calf, maybe getting a little bit of a hamstring stretch too. And you need to hold that for about 30 seconds on each side. Bouncing and running and bobbing in place doesn't really do very much. It looks like you're going somewhere, but you're not. So just breathe into it. Take your time, get to know your body. Again, when this is in your daily practice, it just makes sense. Your body will intuitively want to go into these poses because it knows that it feels better afterwards. You need time. Time is a really important part of education and learning. We need time to integrate and let our brains start to make these new connections or reawaken the old connections. Take a look up in between the palms, and we're just going to walk our feet on up to the top, or maybe the middle of the mat if they don't make it all the way up there. So fingertips are going to be on the floor, and we're just going to start to lift forwards and backwards in the toes. My knees are very, very bent here. I am not looking to lock my legs at all. I don't need straight legs. I have enough tension on my hamstrings. I can feel my toes. I can feel my heels. I'm just rocking back and forth here if you can't see me. I'm just lifting up my toes, lifting up my heels, just so I can find my center. Good. I'm going to take my hands onto the tops of my thighs. So I'm still looking down. And I want to start to lean back into my heels, get into more bend. You'll feel this in your knees, your quads, and then just press through the heels. We come up to a nice standing pose. So this is our Tadasana, mountain pose. You want to lift up, try to feel that chest rise and drop the hips low. So you're creating this decompression, this length and extension in the spine. I'm going to walk up a little bit closer to the top of the mat and ensure that my hips and my heels and my shoulders are nice and parallel. Everything is parallel here. The arms are going to turn out. And think about your head now. Let's talk a little bit about our throat and our chin. So you want to imagine that your chin is pressing towards the wall behind you, not tucking down, not looking up, but just straight back. And this helps with your posture. If your ear is over your shoulder ends up over your heel. And that's an important alignment principle. Your thighs are pressing back, and that creates a little bit of an internal rotation. Think about rotating your knees in to face one another versus turning out like a duck. Good. Bring the arms out in front of you, just like you're holding a little toddler or someone. So lifting your toes, wiggling your fingers. Make sure that you have freedom here. I'm going to unlock my knees so that they can bend, but I'm not going to let my knees go forward. So I'm unlocking my knees, and I'm going to keep my spine as straight as I can, sitting into my heels. I'm just starting to pull my hips back. Now, if you have any low back pain or you're, dealing with some low back pain from a long time ago, maybe just start with the hands right on the tops of the thighs so that way you have control and you can feel your spine lifting. What we're not looking to do here is hyperextend. I don't want you to go into a big back bend here. I want you to keep your spine nice and straight so you can engage your core, lift up the spine, and draw the shoulder blades onto the back. Chin presses straight back. Good. If you want to go a little further, just pull your hips back, sit down lower. All the weight is in your heels, but your toes are on the floor. Okay, you can bring your arms out forward if you want a little bit more, and then good, come on and stand up. Not too bad, right? Let's make it a little bit more challenging and bring the two big toes together, heels just a little bit apart. Now we're going to bend into those knees and squeeze your thighs together for real now, as if you have one leg. So we're going to start off nice and easy. I'm going to have the hands on the tops of my thighs, and I'm just going to start to sit back. So if I was looking straight forward and then I start taking my hinge back, I'm going to be looking at where the wall meets the floor so that my spine is nice and straight. And I'm going to start squeezing and zipping up from the big toe through the heel all the way up to the crown of the head. Good. Make it a little bit more challenging for yourself. Maybe the hands come to the heart. So this is that chair pose that a lot of people see, very iconic, but we're taking a little bit more of a mindful approach here. I don't want you to go too far. You should just feel a little bit of a shake and a tremble but that's about it. You could take the arms forward if you haven't already done so. You could bring the arms up. Just keep going as low as you can go and as low that is steady and comfortable for you. Do not let your knees come forward. Keep those knees over your heels. You can still wiggle your fingertips and your toes. New breath in, come all the way up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Close your eyes and take 3 breaths. So this breath in through the nose and out through the nose, this is called ujjayi. And ujjayi has the sound of like the waves crashing. You're constricting the back of the throat to control the air out. Good. Blink your eyes open and we're going to go through. Inhale, reach up nice and high. Exhale, we're just going to fold forward. You can use your principles that we just learned. Take your fingertips to the floor. Inhale halfway up for length. Good. Exhale, forward fold. Sweep your arms forward. Sit down into those heels and press all the way back up. Exhale, hands to the heart. We'll do that again. Inhale, reach up nice and high. Exhale, forward fold, maybe swan dive. Hands can slide, whatever works for you. Inhale, halfway up for length. And exhale, forward fold. From here, we're going to plant the hands flat on the floor and take your feet to the back of the mat. So that's the top of the push-up, your plank pose. Adjust your hands until you know where your hands and feet need to be. So you're in that strong plank pose here. Take a nice breath in and a nice breath out. The knees aim towards one another. That's the internal rotation of the legs. The arms externally rotate. The insides of the elbows face the front of the room. Good. Come down onto your knees. Walk your hands back just a tiny little bit. Okay. Keep the head reaching out in front of your hands. Your nose points straight down. The chin is tucking straight to that wall behind you. And in this case, the wall behind us is the ceiling. So it's pressing straight up to the sky. Take a nice breath in. On your exhale, we're going to bend those elbows. Make sure that your elbows aim at your ribs. You're not trying to press your arms out. You're trying to hug them in. And just come down slow as you can to the floor. Good. Walk yourself back a little bit. Bring your legs back just a little bit further from each other. So one big toe, and then another big toe, and another big toe. So think about your belly button going from the shape of an O to an I. You're trying to stretch out the abdominals, right? Press your hips into the floor. So really squeeze your glutes, press your pubic bone down into the ground, and just lift up the chin and the chest and the shoulders. You don't need your hands here. You can lift them up. You could just leave them resting, but I'm not putting a lot of pressure in my hands. Make sure that your thumbs are right at the ribs. They're not up at the shoulders, okay? So sometimes people get a little nervous and their hands are up too high. Tuck them back. It will really, really help you. So pressing in here, exhale, gently come down. You can do this a few times on your own. So inhale, lifting up, and exhale, coming back down. You want to get to know this beautiful spine motion. This is just like we were doing in that cat and cow from Tabletop. So inhales, lift up, and exhales, come down. Very important. Tuck your toes, so the pinky toe is on the floor as well. Leave your knees on the floor and hug your elbows in tight. From here, we're going to pull the shoulder blades up so that the head of that shoulder is now level with the floor, just like your elbow is. So you have nice parallel arms with the floor, the upper arm bone. Good. Now what we're going to do is start to engage into your core and squeeze yourself, pressing straight up to that top of a push-up again. On the knees or off the knees, you choose, right? And you could do 3 of these on your own. So what I want you to do is hover now. Do not let the shoulders drop down and then come back up. These are mini, mini tricep push-ups called chaturanga. Take your time and get to know this. I cannot emphasize enough how important this posture and building strong shoulder stability is for you here, because more poses down the road that you may want to get to need this type of strength and this type of stability first. And this is where we learn that. Good. A little upward facing. and downward facing dog. Good. Take a big breath in. We're going to take a cleansing breath. Open up your mouth. Sound of relief. The beautiful sigh. Good. Child's pose. Come on down. Toes together, knees nice and wide. Sit all the way back. Good. You can have your forearms on the floor. If you can bring your head down to the ground, that's okay too. If you want to walk your arms out further, you may. And maybe having your arms ahead is too much for you right now. And you just want to bring your hands back by your feet and rest your forehead. So good. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We want to give ourselves a little bit of time. When we're ready, we're going to move back into that tabletop pose. So the knees are going to come back in a little bit. Your hands are going to come forward to about that middle of the mat. For gentle, just getting started here, we're going to take our right foot in between the palms. This is a great time to go ahead and grab a block if you need to. And I'm just going to tuck my back toes and lift up into a lunge. I want to feel the alignment and feel the distance between my 2 feet. My right foot is pressing down into the ground, including that right big toe. My toes are not gripping into the floor. My heel has all of its power. The back leg is strong and straight. Good. We're going to come down onto the knee here, this left knee. Make sure that back knee is comfortable. You can always put a little towel back there. I'm going to have my fingertips on the floor, and I'm just going to start moving back and forth at this right knee. So I'm lunging into this hip, backwards and forwards, and just creating some motion. Motion is lotion here, everyone. Take your time and just start to get to know how your body feels. You don't have to go fast. I encourage you to just stay connected with your breath. You're doing really, really good if you're following the sound of your breath. I'm going to go a little bit further and take the toes off of the floor, just like I'm driving a car, or at least I hope we're driving a car. You leave your heel on the floor and you're just pivoting here. This keeps you in a lot of control. This activity is going to be important when we get to our big standing poses coming up. Next thing we're going to do is just bring the hands onto the top of this right thigh. Now, you can stay down here or you can start to pull into your core. Feel the zip up, pulling in and lifting up, pulling in and lifting up. I like to say this is like the Heimlich maneuver, right? But not right underneath your ribs, below your belly button. So scooping in like a little ice cream scoop, scooping in and lifting up. Keep your spine tall. You'll start to feel some stretch along the front of your left hip. As you're doing this, make sure that your left glute, your backside is nice and strong here. And as you start to lunge into this, you'll feel where your edge is. So edge is very important here. We don't want to do any damage to the front of our hip. That's typically like a labrum tear. If anybody has anything like that going on, you want to just back off of that. So be careful. Left arm's going to reach up to the sky. Keep contracting into that left glute to squeeze your cheeks nice and tight. On your exhale, left hand's going to come down to the ground or to the block, right? Right hand's going to come to the low back, and we're going to stack our right shoulder on top of our left. I'm going to go ahead and power up my left leg so it's nice and straight and strong, and continue stacking. You want to think about moving your heart away from your right knee, pressing your spine towards the wall that's behind you. So the head is pressing back. You can look up if it's okay with your neck. You should feel this in the right hip. Nice breath in. On your exhale, right hand's going to slide down onto the inside of that right foot. Walk your right foot over just a little bit, heel toe, and turn that right foot out so it's at about a 45 to 60 degree angle. I'm going to drop down onto that left knee again, and all you need to do to go deeper into your right inner thigh is bend the elbows. So this is called a lizard pose or a lizard stretch. This is not a very fast stretch. If you can hang out here for about 5 breaths, take a little pause, keep your right heel down on the floor so you can still pivot, just like you're driving your car. You can lift up and lift down. I think being in control here is important, especially as these poses become a little bit bigger and start to become collaborative. You're starting to connect these different little small poses into bigger, more complex poses. I'm going to walk my fingertips over towards the left side of the room, moving my heart away from my knee again. So you can feel we're creating all of this space. And in our practice, we create space before we fill it with fire, right? Bring yourself back into midline. Wiggle your right toe and your right heel back in. And then we're just going to take that right knee back to meet the left knee. So there is your tabletop pose. You can take a mini flow, so coming down onto the floor, a little cobra, a little down dog, child's pose, downward facing puppy, whatever feels good. And then we're going to take our left foot in between our palms again. So make sure that you're narrow here at that hip width distance, okay? So the left hand's on the outside of that left foot. So again, you could always be up on blocks here if you need to. And I'm just going to do that driving thing, pivot through your left heel so the toes lift up. And we're just going backwards and forwards. Listen to your body and take your time. Good. I'm going to power up that back leg. I didn't do that initially, but you can always check your distance. Make sure that that feels right for you. Left hand and right hand come to the top of this left thigh and push up. Turn on your core, zipping that navel into the spine, squeezing your thighs together, turning on your cheeks nice and tight. Lift that right arm up nice and high. Good. Remember, if there's too much stretch in the front of that right hip, the leg that's behind you, just stand up a little bit more, take some of that weight out of it. Good. Right hand's going to come down to the ground or to the block. Left hand goes to your low back, and then you can power up that back leg if you see that that's fit for you to do right now. Keep pushing into your left heel so you don't only feel this in the right leg. Push into the left heel. Think about squeezing your thighs together. Even though you're lunging, you can hug your thighs together. So that's working at your pelvic floor. Left arm can stay on the low back. It can go up to the sky. Lots of things you could do with the arm. I'm going to leave that to you in your practice. If you feel like reaching forward, extending, you can do that. I'm going to show you the gentle versions with the arms because I don't think that the arm is the most important. It's learning how to stand in standing poses. We're going to come down onto that right knee again. Left arm's going to move onto the inside of that left foot. Heel, toe, heel. The big toe is going to be pointing out at that 45 to 60 degree angle. Turn that thigh out and walk your hands a little bit over if you want. Bend your elbows a little bit more if you want, and breathe. So again, a nice lizard pose stretch, taking your time and finding your beautiful, deep breath. That's beautiful, everyone. When you're ready to release this pose, bring yourself back out of here. Take your time, wiggle your toe in if you need to, step that left leg back. Clear the poses out with that nice, gentle flow. You can keep it nice and soft on the knees, barely coming off of the ground, but do get some motion. It's very good. And we're all just going to meet up in child's pose. Toes together, knees nice and wide, and soften down. Anytime we draw the knees to our chest like this, it's a hug, it's an embrace, it's say thank you. Swallow, clear the breath way. Before you take another bite, just remember that you can be satiated, and if you need to pause or stop here, that's okay. We're going to move into the next phase of the class, which is a little bit more intense, right? These are our big standing poses. You've just done all of the prep work, so you can pick this up from here. We're going to come into downward facing dog. So just a really nice, generous downward facing dog. It should feel really good. Good. What we're going to do is bring that left foot towards the center and take the right leg up to the sky. So my heel is pushing up. I have not stacked the hips. I'm nice and square here. I'm going to walk the hands back just a little bit. So I'm shorter, just by a hand length, a few fingers. backwards. This is going to make it easy. You should feel that that left leg is shaking or trembling just a tiny bit. Good. Right knee comes into the chest, and now use your left foot to help tippy toe. Lean forward. Bring the head in front of those hands. Tippy toe with your left foot. Inhale that right heel, back up nice and high to the sky. Do the same thing again. Squeeze the air out, just like a little bellow, right? Trying to make that fire grow bigger and brighter. Inhale that right leg up. Take your right knee to your right elbow, just off to the side. Get it to touch. Good. Inhale back up. You can do this a lot if you want. Get nice and strong. Take it to the other elbow. That's harder. Good. Right foot goes in between your palms with a swing and no thump. Okay, just lightly place that right foot in between the palms. Some days are better than others, folks. Make sure that your right foot has strength. Push into your right heel, down into the ground. The knee is over your heel. You could take your hands to your hips, right? Make sure you've got good balance. Just look at your big toe if you get lost. Good. Power in your back leg, stand up. Good. So we're now square hips. You feel this nice activity where your hips are square, the knees are hugging together. I like to put the guns in the holsters, everybody. Hands on your hips. Make sure your pointer fingers are pointing straight ahead. If they're turning off to the side, just rotate at the hip. See how easy that is? Good. Arms come up. If you want, you can keep your hands at your hips. You can have your hands at your heart. That's fine. And just work on this back leg feeling stable and strong. So I'm practicing by a couch here at home. So if you have balance issues, you can have something you can reach and get to. Turn your back foot down flat now. So that left foot is pointing straight out to the left, and the right foot is pointing straight ahead to the right, to the front of the room. If I take a look, my right foot lines up with my left arch. I'm like a T, not an L. A T, not an L. So get nice and long. Find that right distance for you. And now we're going to bend into this right knee. Your knee stays over your heel in front and back and left and right. So it's often that people want that right knee to fall inwards. Avoid that. Press it out. Think about your pinky toe getting some more weight, and the inside of your right foot is arching, lifting up. Good. You'll feel this nice softness dropping down into this inner thigh, and then the arms can go level or parallel with the floor. Right arm is straight ahead, left arm is straight behind you. Just look over your right fingertips and relax your shoulders. Back leg is straight and strong. You have all of this control. You can go up and down on that pivot. Learn to be in your body. Good. Right palm turns up. Left hand slides down your left leg for a side body stretch. We're just opening. Maintain this open, maintain this space. And now we're going to take our right arm and just place your elbow onto the top of that right thigh. Turn and look up. Turn that left shoulder, turn the left hip. So we're stacking everything on top of that right side. Continue lunging. You'll feel this on that right inner thigh. Take your time and breathe here. Nice breath in. Good, nice breath out. New inhale, we're going to come up. So we're straightening into this right leg, push down into the ground, and turn out at the hip. Maybe place your right hand on your right hip and feel the thigh bone actually turn away from you. External rotation. Pressing down into that heel, push down into the big toe, press down into the ground, and turn on your right quad. Make it strong. Good. And just start to feel your hip tilt. You'll feel a little stretch behind your knee. Don't go past that little stretch. Just feel the stretch. And you could take your hand to the shin or to the thigh. Stack your hips now. Turn the left hip and shoulder. So now you're stacking. This is the triangle pose. Okay. If your knee is bent, you're in side angle. If your leg is straight, you're in triangle. The arm can come up to the sky. Again, the arm doesn't matter. It's about how you're standing here in this pose. Your hands are an expression. You should feel strong, stable, and also confident. Take a look down. We're going to bring the hands to the floor and take our right foot back. There's our plank pose. We've been here before. Chaturanga, that elbow push-up, elbows in nice and tight. Don't let the shoulders fall down. Tops of the feet go on the floor. Upward facing dog, so the legs are lifting. Your cheeks are nice and tight. You're pulling your heart in front of your arms. And good. Back into downward facing dog. Take your time here and just breathe. Look at how your right side feels compared to your left. When you go slow and when you practice mindfully, you're very aware of your body and you'll feel so much better than rushing through things. Life's busy enough. We just need to take time to slow down. You'll get your workout in, but you want to be really mindful as we do this. So next up, we're going to take that right foot to the center of the mat. The left heel is going to just lift up to the sky. Walk your hands back, so make sure you're a little bit shorter. It certainly makes it easier. So I have my right knee bent here. My left hip is just trying to get that left heel up to the sky, so I'm using my glutes here. Good. Hug the knee into the chest and then tippy toe. Shoulders over the wrist, head in front of the hands, tippy toe. Good. Inhale back up. Do that one again, just do it better. Squeeze the air out. Inhale back up. Beautiful. The left knee touches that left elbow or the back of that thigh. Get that nice crunch. Inhale back up. Take it to the other elbow. This is a twist. It's a lot harder. Good. Inhale back up. Left foot goes lightly in between the palms. Get it there. It's okay. Give yourself a breath. Don't race to pop your hands up to the sky. Just find your runner's lunge. Take a breath here and slow down. Isn't that better? You're clear in your mind. Bring your hands to your hips and up you go. You have to move mindfully. This is not supposed to be a step class, a dance class, an aerobics class. This is yoga. It's different. Learn how to be in your body. When you go and do other things, you'll do those a lot better. It's called cross training. The arms can come up to the sky if you want. Again, options for you. In this pose, my right heel is reaching towards that back wall. I'm not tippy toeing. I'm sending the heel down. If my heel is touching the floor, I'm not feeling anything. I have to make sure I'm long enough. And that takes some time. Again, wiggle around, use a countertop or the edge of a couch if you need to. Good. Turn your back foot flat on the floor. Right foot is facing to the right, left foot is straight ahead. And sometimes you need to wiggle. You need to just slightly adjust. If you're at home, put a little piece of tape. Some of the new yoga mats have a line right down the center, so you're on that line or the tightrope. Okay? So in this pose, your glutes are clenching, so we're turning out at the top of the hip, whether our knee is bent or straight. So here we're going to bend that knee. Make sure that you're pressing towards that pinky toe side of the foot. The knee is over your heel. The arms reach forward and back. Soften the shoulders down and breathe here. Back leg is strong. You have control in that left heel. You can keep that heel down and pivot. Left palm turns up. Right hand slides down that right leg for some support, some guidance. Continue lunging in that left knee, open through the left side body. When you're ready, that left hand is going to come down onto the top of that thigh. Right hand on the low back, right hip, and right shoulder are stacking. You can look up to the sky, keep lunging. Do not use your left elbow here to hold you up. Don't push into it. Actually use it to try to drive more of the stack, this twisting action, right? Good. New breath in, come up to standing. Now this left leg is strong. So you can have a relaxed leg or a strong leg. Go for strong. Left arm can reach up. Left arm can reach forward as the left hip hugs back, coming into that triangle pose. You want to feel just a little stretch on the back of your knee and then bring your hand down. You do not need to have your hand touch the floor. The only reason people's hands touch the floor is because it takes a while just to feel that stretch. So as you practice, you get a little bit further and further and further, but that's not a goal. The goal is for the sensation, for the alignment, and for your peace of mind. Don't let yoga stress you out. We're already stressed out enough. Keep breathing. You're doing good. On your exhale, take a look down. Hands come to the floor and step that left leg back. Good job, everyone. Little flow, clear it out. You've done wonderful. Good job. Big breath in, smile. You're doing yoga. And exhale, downward facing dog. Big cleansing breath. You deserve it. Inhale up, exhale. How about that child's pose? Pretty good idea, right? You are welcome. So take a few breaths here. Listen to your body. Take your time. Good. Gently begin to release this. And we're going to just walk our feet up, coming up to standing. Pretty good, right? All right. So as we stand here, pressing down into the ground, just feel your body upright. Good. Your right knee can come up to your chest, interlacing your fingertips. Left hand can come to your hip. Open up your your right leg out to the right and press your heel forward. Your right foot will move onto the inner thigh or onto the top of that shin. So this is our tree pose. So hang out here for a little bit. Take your breath in and take your breath out. Balance is about stillness. Slow down your mind and feel at peace. Good. Gently release this. We'll move on to the other side. Shake out that left leg a little bit, drawing it up. Knee to the chest. Right hand comes to your right hip. Open up out to the left. Press that heel forward. Take the left foot and place it onto the inner thigh or on that inner shin. Pressing the left knee back, squeezing your glutes, sitting nice and tall and breathing. Good, and we'll gently release that. Not too bad, right? Good. So next up, what we're gonna do is have a little fun and do some dancer pose. Dancer is a fun posture. You're gonna take your right hand and you're going to just bend into your right foot and grab hold of it. So if you can hold on to the outside edge, that's a good place to start. If you can move on to the inside, you can move there. All we're gonna do here is reach forward and kick back. So you're standing on one leg. It's so much easier to look down, everyone. Pressing down into the ground and lifting up and out. Good. You can try this a few times on your own. If you fall down, just fall down. It's all good. We'll do the other side when you're ready. Left hand grabs hold of the foot. Hug your thighs in first. That's a helpful tip. Keep everything nice and strong. Stand strong on your right leg. Reach forward and cut that hip back. Just kick into your hand. Take your time. Maybe you want to do that again. Maybe you want to try it one more time. You can hit pause, do it, start over again. Good. When you're ready, what we're going to do is take our toes a little bit out to the sides, like a lightly into a duck pose, right? And we're going to come down into our yogi squat. So just coming all the way down and just having a seat. Stretch open the inner thighs. Use your elbows. Keep your heels on the floor. If you need to sit on your block, it's a great opportunity now to just work on that. The arm balance that comes out of here is called the crow pose, but we're just going to stretch right now. You can even prepare for that crow pose, but you're still stretching out those inner thighs. Good. And just gently sitting back and forth. So use your body weight and take your time, just moving, extending, just like so. Good. I'll demonstrate the crow pose for you. So you press down, but you squeeze everything up. And that's the crow. And gently come down. Pretty fancy, right? Okay. So next up, what we're going to do is just come back down onto the knees, You could do a little cat and cow and just clear everything out, a little flow if you'd like. And next up, what we're going to do is stretch out our hips. So if you have any issues on your knees or your hips or ankles, you can certainly come onto your back into a number 4 pose. So I'm going to demonstrate this down here first, and I'll show you the alternative. So this is pigeon pose. It looks like tree pose, but the tree fell down. Right? So the right knee is pressing out to the right, and your toes are pushing down into the ground. Going to come down onto the forearms. Very safe place to be. So I'm going to roll over and demonstrate the reverse pigeon next. So what you're going to do is have your knees bent. You're going to come onto your back, cross your right foot over the left leg, and make sure that the ankle is over to the side. Your ankle bone, if it presses into your thigh, that's not comfortable. So move it over to the side. And then you're going to lay back. From here, you draw the knee up into the chest, maybe drawing your hands behind that and giving yourself a little bit more stretch here. The goal here is to make sure that that right knee is moving away as you're drawing the other knee towards your chest. Good. When you're ready to come out of those poses, you'll just release onto the other side. If you want to do a little twist or stack your leg up and from downward facing dog, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay, we'll move on to the other side next. So I'm just going to stay here in this pose. If you need to be on your back, obviously do the other side the same as before. When you're in these poses, it's about letting go. There's not a lot of outward activity. We're starting to slow down. We had a really great warm up. We felt all that fire. We worked really hard. And now we're settling everything down in, allowing your body to breathe and start that cool down process. It's important to cool down just a little bit before we move into our final poses. So, taking some time, again, gratitude. It's so important to be in this peace of mind, so thankful that we're here and able to do these things with our body to maintain health, right? Boost our spirits, boost our immune system, our anti-aging pathways. Good. We'll gently come out of this. However you released the pose before on the right, do the same thing here on the left. Let it feel good for you. And what we're going to do is meet up in a seated pose, facing forward. Bring your feet together like a butterfly this time. So the soles of the feet are touching, the big toes are spread away, just like you're reading a book. The arms are going to slide underneath your shins here. Go long. Make sure you're nice and long here. You're going to pull your body forward. Just like we were doing in the very beginning, we don't want to push back. That can hurt your spine. We want to reach and extend our body forward and breathe. Good. Gently releasing this, coming out of the pose, bring the knees back together and walk your hands back. And we're just going to make our way onto our backs. If you need to do anything like draw the knees up to the chest, give yourself a little release, let it feel good. Those circles, wonderful. So we're just working our way full circle back down onto the ground. The hands can come to the tops of those feet. There's our bridge pose. And you're more than welcome to do some bridges here. Maybe placing that block, if you have it, underneath your back. You can play around here. Just keep the breath nice and smooth. Big breaths in and big breath out. Good. Whenever you're ready, you take your time. Just slowly make your way back down onto the floor. Just allow your eyes to close and just relax your legs flat, the palms face up. Just take this time for you. Close your eyes and go inside, connecting into your body, relaxing every muscle, just barely, barely being able to stay awake. Such a beautiful, peaceful place. So still, so relaxed. Slowly beginning to move your fingers and your toes. Feel your body just beginning to wake up again. Very slow. And notice the sensation of your fingers and your toes coming back into your body. Reaching the arms up over the head, point the toes to the front of the room. Give yourself a nice long, deep stretch. Bending into your knees, rolling onto your side, and pressing up into a nice, easy seated pose. Grounding down through the sit bones and lifting up and out through the waistline. Draw the hands up to the heart. Big breath in. Open up your mouth. From this place of love and light in me, I recognize this place in each of you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your power, your determination, and your heart, that gratitude, that thankfulness that we're all here together. We're all practicing our doing our best. Until next time, everyone, namaste. Such a good feeling. If you have any questions, I'm always here for you. Just reach out. Thank you.